What the scariest true story you know? The story of the Lake Neos disaster. The lake periodically belches a cloud of invisible carbon dioxide gas that suffocates everything within a 16-mile radius. In 1986, over 1,700 people and all their livestock died without even understanding what was happening to them. I could not speak. I became unconscious. I could not open my mouth because then I smelled something terrible. I heard my daughter snoring in a terrible way, very abnormal. When crossing to my daughter's bed, I collapsed and fell. I was there till 9 o'clock in the morning, of Friday, the next day. Until a friend of mine came and knocked at my door. I was surprised to see that my trousers were red, had some stains like honey. I saw some starchy mess on my body. My arms had some wounds. I didn't really know how I got these wounds. I opened the door. I wanted to speak, my breath would not come out. My daughter was already dead. I went into my daughter's bed, thinking that she was still sleeping. I slept till it was 4:30 in the afternoon. On Friday, the same day. Then, I managed to go over to my neighbors' houses. They were all dead. I decided to leave. Because, most of my family was in one. I got my motorcycle. A friend whose father had died left with me, for one. As I rode through Neos, I didn't see any sign of any living thing. When I got to WUM, I was unable to walk, even to talk. My body was completely weak. I saw an interview of one of the first people at the scene afterwards. He said it was very still and quiet because even the insects were all killed. A guy in a sinking ship found an oxygen bubble and only drank a sip of Diet Coke every 7 hours. He was rescued after 60 hours after being under constant danger from drowning and even sharks. Sharks are notoriously fans of Pepsi. His name is Harrison O'Kenney. You can watch his rescue video here. The story of Jamie Kloss is terrifying. In rural Wisconsin last year, a 13-14-ish-year-old girl went missing after her parents were murdered in their home. Police arrived within 4 minutes or so, but she is just gone. Of course, speculation is that she was kidnapped, or that she was in on it, or dead, or whatever. Nobody knows because she has completely vanished. 88 days later, in the dead of a northern Wisconsin winter, she runs out into the street to a woman walking her dog. She had been held captive about 40 minutes from her home. All of that is scary enough, but here's the terrifying part. She had never had any contact with the guy that murdered her family and abducted her. One day he was driving to a new job, at which he only lasted a day, and saw her get on the school bus. At that moment he decided that he was going to take her. There was no warning. No grooming. There was absolutely nothing that she or her family could have done to avoid everything. A creepy young man saw her from 100 away and decided that he would murder her family and take her for himself. I got to say that I was completely shocked when they announced when they found her. I thought for sure she was dead. That's horrifying. The silent Gibbon twins. Two sisters who rarely spoke except to each other. They were sent to separate boarding schools to get them to talk to other people but entered severe catatonia. They were eventually hospitalized and made a pact that if one of them died, the other must speak and live a normal life. They had a months-long discussion and decided which one should commit suicide. Eventually, one died of heart inflammation if no cause is noted on the autopsy. And just moments after the planned time the other spoke. I'm free at last, liberated, and at last Jennifer has given up her life for me. Fucking weird. I'm creeped out but curious. Sounds like something straight out of The Conjuring or something. The Nutty Putty Cave incident. A spelunker got stuck upside down in a narrow cave for 26 hours. Crews tried to pull him out with pulleys, but had to be careful not to break his legs, because that could be fatal with the circumstances he was in. Rescuers even almost dislodged him, only for an anchor to fail at the last second, plunging him back into the crevice. He eventually died, and they sealed the cave shut with him inside. I read about this a few weeks ago. I had heart palpitations just thinking about being stuck in that hole. Just scary as hell. Thinking about it now makes my hands sweaty. I believe he was the only spelunker to ever die in a cave getting stuck like he did. Scary to think how it must have felt there, dying. I don't know if it's scary, but when I was younger, me and my twin brother would help our friend do his paper route. One summer we could smell something gross coming from one of the houses. We all didn't think anything of it until 3 days later when the smell was reaching down the driveway. We went to the back door where he normally dropped the paper and noticed it was open. We went in and looked around the house and found the owner dead. He had died of a heart attack and his cats were eating him. It seems to happen a lot. This is a horrific discovery. I am so sorry that you had to stumble upon that. I've told this story before. I'm an eye doctor and I had a patient come to me with an infected eyelid. 2 other eye doctors tried to treat and failed. They were dumping all sorts of medicine into it and it wasn't getting any better. At this point, it was swollen and painful for weeks with no improvement despite being on tons of meds. Apparently, neither of them thought to flip the lid upside down. You know that gross trick some kids do with their upper eyelids? It was a painful maneuver for her very swollen eyelid, which might explain it. Anyhow, there appeared to be what looked like a visible abscess inside the tissue with thick gooey material. I thought I'd give it a nudge and saw it move. This wasn't an abscess, it was something else. I managed to remove it quite easily in one whole piece. It was a fly larva. The patient told me that she had a bug hit her in the eye a few days before she got this infection. I removed the larva and within 2 days the wound closed and she was 100% recovered on basic antibiotic eye drops. Yes, I do have the photos from this case for those interested. TLDR, patient had a bug lay an egg in her eyelid and I removed the larva. Wow, that's truly gross, but good for you and the patient for doing common sense checking to find the obstruction. Brilliant. Well done. I'm thinking there's a universal concept lurking here somewhere even beyond medical practice. Something along the lines of spend time looking at the problem from all angles, including underneath. In the 80s there was a Mexican cult led by an American named Adolfo Constanzo. They used to kidnap random people from tourist towns and nearby cities and perform human sacrifice on them in their rural Mexican desert compound, usually torturing in elaborate rituals for hours or days before finally letting them die. These rituals included vivisections, castrations, eyeball removal, tongue removal, teeth pulling, skin flaying, hanging, etc. They used amphetamines and cocaine to force the victim to stay awake during the torture and not pass out from shock. The cult believed the more pain and fear they could generate in the sacrifice victim, the more powerful the body parts would be as ritual trinkets and also for food for the cult's nganga, which is a large ritual cauldron used to store bones, blood, meat, and other valuable items that the cult believed gave them power. They used to make staves out of wired together spinal columns and they would often eat the victim's eyeballs during the rituals. They are believed to have kidnapped and sacrificed over 26 people to their nganga in their 3 years that they were active from 1986 to 1989. The leader committed suicide when the police showed up at their compound. They arrested 14 cult members, but most people believe there were at least a dozen more that escaped and are still out there. Yo, what the fuck? The last podcast on the left did a series about this story. Alison Boter. On December 18, 1994, Port Elizabeth resident Alison Boter was abducted, raped, stabbed and left for dead by Franz Dutoit and Tians Kruger. They slashed her throat 17 times, so deep she had to hold her own head on as she crawled to the road for help. With her other hand she had to hold in the organs spilling from her stomach, where she had been stabbed more than 30 times. By some miracle the knife thrusts had missed her main arteries, so she did not bleed to death and was able to breathe through her severed trachea. There is a documentary that is on Amazon Prime called Allison. Worth a watch but might be traumatic for some viewers. Trailer for Allison, film camera. I grew up in SA and this story was told to me at a very young age. I was shocked as to what happened to her, yet in awe of what she accomplished. She gave a speech at my previous company's conference one year and I got to meet her. Absolutely phenomenal woman, and I am honored I was able to chat to her for a few minutes. Wow, just checked out, that is sick shit. Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.